What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All-22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All-22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. And if you do, reach out to info@all-22.com. We will put you in a league. League creation is currently suspended since the season is currently underway. Ray, some really big news in the NFL this week, and I think the biggest one is Brian Daboll losing his job as the head coach of the Giants. You, me, All-22 Bobby kind of exchanged a few texts about this, and I think there are differing opinions. So I thought it would be cool to start this episode by maybe discussing why we have differing opinions on this. So why don't you start off? Tell me what your take is on the Giants firing Brian Daboll as head coach.
I mean, we all knew this was going to happen for over a year now. We all looked and saw that Brian Daboll is not going to keep his job beyond this year, which is why we were all scared of the potential of Jaxson Dart's development to be hindered by another coaching change. And the study you did on the impact of coaching changes on young quarterbacks and their development in the NFL. This is now another sort of statistic to that end, and we'll see where it goes. But Jaxson Dart has performed admirably well. He has to take care of himself, like we've mentioned multiple times here. He has to stay out of his own way and protect himself, because he will not last playing the way he does for the long term in this league. And, I think this is just the ramification of subpar team building. Team building is the number one aspect of being a general manager in the NFL. It's the most important part of a general manager sort of role, so to speak. And it's why we love All-22. But the reason being is that when you ineffectively build a team, when you hamper the next guy with terrible contracts, a very bad roster, and Chris's alarm going off on cue, it makes it very tough for them to do their job. I mean, the reality is that they had to, they meaning Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, had to make chicken salad out of chicken. You know what? There's a reason the Giants are going to be on their fifth head coach in a decade, and it's largely because the team building from Gettleman onward was just horrendous, and it's hard to clean up that mess in this type of environment. And you just hope that another long-term ramification of this isn't a negative impact on Jaxson Dart's development, because we do know, if nothing else, Brian Daboll can work pretty darn well with developmental athletic type QBs. He did it with Josh Allen before heading to New York. That was his calling card. So we know that's part of his arsenal. And is that going to be part of the next guy's arsenal in New York to work with Jaxson Dart? I would assume that's what they're going to target, but yeah, it's not good. It's not a good indicator. It's just one indicator, but it's not a good indicator for Jaxson Dart's future development.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right that I did that study, and that's what it showed, right? Is when you have a losing head coach, you don't let them draft your next quarterback. But the Giants already did that, right? You mentioned that the biggest issue with the Giants is team building. I don't know how you put that on the head coach. That is why I'm a little bit maybe taking a different approach than you and Bobby, because I'm sitting here going, you already let him draft the franchise quarterback. And on top of that, he looks pretty good, right? Like, the quarterback that you let him draft is proving to be effective. So I understand you're not winning games right now, but how much of that are you putting on the head coach? Yes, the head coach has made a lot of bad decisions in terms of, there's probably 3 or 4 games this year that you could point to and say, the Giants are a couple plays away from pulling off a win, right? And maybe instead of whatever they are, 2-6, 2-7, I don't even know, maybe that's flopped. Sure. But you have a rookie quarterback. You lost your number one receiver to injury. You lost your running back to injury. How are we just going to put all of that on the head coach and say, yeah, it's his problem, let's get him out of here? I think in reality, this firing is a really bad thing for Jaxson Dart, because at the end of the day, we don't really know, right? Like, we don't know if Jaxson Dart can do what he's been doing under another head coach. Yes, I also agree, running Jaxson Dart maybe the way they were, and maybe not putting a collar on him so that he wasn't getting banged up so much, is important. But are we sure that another coach is getting the upside out of Jaxson Dart that Daboll was, right? So to me, I don't really think it was the right time to be making a move like this.
Yeah, and I get the frustration. So the New York Giants are 0-4 in games that it has led by at least 10 points on the road this season. The rest of the NFL is 57-1 in those games. So, yeah, that's I get the frustration, but it's not the best thing for a young quarterback to fire his head coach. So I imagine they're still going to go with someone offensive minded because I'm sure priority number one is Jaxson Dart. But yeah, change can be a negative, especially for a young quarterback's development.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it, right? And I think at the very least, if you were going to make a move like this, wait till the end of the year. Because again, now you have a rookie quarterback mid-season whose philosophy has to change. I don't think that's great, right? I don't think that's great for development. But what we are doing today, Ray, our main focus of the conversation is meant to be on giving out midseason awards, which I'm pumped for. And I never like to finish negative. So I thought maybe we can start negative and talk about our most disappointing players so far this season. And this one's not really a player, but I'm going to start off with one. I'm going to propose something out here, and I want to hear your thoughts. The number one most disappointing anything in the NFL season this far is YouTube TV. How do you YouTube TV get rid of ESPN, Disney, ABC right before my Packers play the Eagles on Monday night so I can't watch them? Ray, do you know how brutal that was?
I'm not going to say anything about finding streams online. So yes, I'm sure that was terrible for you and absolutely devastating. I mean, I hate to take sides between multi-billion-dollar companies here, but I'm not sure that Disney's the good guy here either. And I don't appreciate you tweeting at me to write to YouTube TV to do this so I don't have to go and buy your new super high price subscription just to watch live sporting events that I was able to before on ESPN Plus. That doesn't really endear you to me very much. So yeah, they are both super disappointing to me. Just figure it out. Just figure it out. And don't make me jump through hoops to get a credit either for this. Or try to find streams, elsewhere on the internet, because why would anyone ever do that? Right. You're not supposed to do that. So we would not ever do that.
Would never do that. But in all seriousness, I do have the most disappointing player so far this year. Chris Jones, defensive interior for the Chiefs. So if you followed Chris Jones's career to this point, or you've played all 22 and had Chris Jones on your team, like, this is a franchise pillar for people, right? Including me. This season, 44th ranked defensive interior in points scored in the all-22 system. He has 27. He's the 50th ranked defensive interior with at least 240 snaps, with a 60.3 PFF grade, a 42.9 run defensive grade, and a 28.8 tackling grade. 4 weeks as well with sub 65 pass rushing grade. Besides, apparently he's always been a terrible tackler. These are the worst statistics of any season, even his rookie season, up to 10 weeks through his career. So Chris Jones is my most disappointing player, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that invested very early picks or made big trades to get Chris Jones, and right now their teams are hurting because of it.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and it's kind of reflected in the Chiefs' overall record. One of your key players is not having a year up to par, whether it's age, nicked up, or what have you, it makes an impact. Another one, this goes for any format, Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver 88 in all 22 this year, after a fantastic, spectacular rookie season. He's been injured pretty much the entire year. Of course, you and I made a big blockbuster trade. I received Brian Thomas Jr., and this is promptly what happens. But yeah, he's been injured, shoulder, wrist, whatever, and then now the ankle. So he's been in and out of the lineup. When he's been in, he's had tons of drops and just hasn't ever found his stride. Trevor Lawrence hasn't taken the next step, possibly as a result of just the inconsistency for his number one target. Now Travis Hunter's also out. I know this is about Brian Thomas Jr., but it's just a mess over there offensively for the Jaguars, and this is a big part of it. people expected Brian Thomas Jr. to at least maintain that level of play heading into his second year and develop a better rapport and in a better offense. And it just has not worked out whatsoever. So Brian Thomas Jr., most disappointing player on the offensive side of the ball for 2025.
Which is funny because the Jaguars are respectable this year with a 5-4 record, second in the AFC South. Like, they are a respectable football team, but I totally agree with you.
Ugly 5-4.
Ugly 5-4. I think for me, right, like you made a comment about the trade we made. And I think the thing that made me nervous about Brian Thomas Jr. was so much of his production last year was when Trevor Lawrence was out. So him and Trevor Lawrence I don't know if they've really ever fully got that connection down. And I think that's a lingering kind of issue that needs to be resolved. And the fact that a Mac Jones can unlock that should tell you that Trevor Lawrence maybe is the problem, right? Maybe he's not fully developing yet. So something to keep an eye on for sure. Ray, why don't you jump into, because I had asked you before the show if maybe we can split offensive and defensive. So you have a few defensive awards. Why don't you start me off with one of them? I don't know if you have a D-line one, if you want to start with that.
I have to finish with the D-line one.
Okay.
So why don't we start with the young guys? I'll do the defensive rookie of the year. I don't know what order, like in these award shows, do they have a specific order? I don't know. That's not the type of research I do before we head into these episodes. But rookie of the year for me is on the defensive side of the ball. And this really shouldn't be a surprise. And I'm just mad. I say it feels like every other week here, but it's linebacker Jihad Campbell. He is the highest graded rookie defender in the entire NFL. He is the third highest graded linebacker overall. His run defense, tackling, and coverage grades are all 74 or above. So he's well balanced. He's not being, buoyed by just, one specific area of his actual production, whether it's run defense or coverage, which could be much more variable. No, he's just super solid across the board. He's got a 5.9% missed tackle rate, which is the seventh lowest in the league among all linebackers. And of those top 7 missed tackle rate linebackers, he has the highest grade of all of them. He's also played over 125 snaps on the edge for Philadelphia. So a really nice, versatile piece who's being asked to do a lot and is still producing at a high level at a position that usually takes a while to produce at a high level because of how tough it is for linebackers in the NFL nowadays. And also, it's not as if Jalen Carter has really lit the world on fire this season either. He's kind of had some of his own issues in front of him. So we always talk about the surroundings of some of those young players in Philadelphia. And yes, it's a solid environment for all of them to be in. But it's not as if he's just a merchant of a dominant defensive front in front of him. They've needed to go get pass rush help. We saw at the trade deadline this past week. But through it all, Jihad Campbell has been one of the reasons why the Eagles defense can keep trucking along and win a game like we saw on Monday night here against the Packers in a just completely, just a fully defensive game, a nice throwback to, days out yonder. So Jihad Campbell, I can't believe the NFL let the Eagles draft a guy like this yet again, but he's the easy rookie of the year for me, at least on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think if we had to choose one rookie of the year, it would be Jihad Campbell. And I think we both support that argument. We both were in love with him at the beginning of the season. It's proving us right. Of course, we're going to like it, right? But if we had to go to the offensive side of the ball and say, who is the offensive rookie of the year? I think to this point, there is an argument that it could have been Cam Skattebo, right? Like it could have been Jaxson Dart. I think there's a few names of people that to this point would be in the argument saying that they were the offensive rookie of the year. Cam Skattebo, 80.5 PFF grade, truly helping the Giants win. If you watch Giants football game, they were relying on him for basically everything. Jaxson Dart has really stepped up the last few weeks, 71.5 PFF grade, 48.7 all 22 points. Again, like super, super great seeing what he's done. But Cam Skattebo's out for the season. Jaxson Dart just lost his head coach. I'm thinking that that's likely going to change. So my focus goes more to the two receivers. It's either Ted McMillan or Emeka Egbuka to me. And it's a really hard debate. And we've done it a few times. I won't go too in the weeds on that again here, but just high level, right? Ted so far on the season has 45 all 22 points against Egbuka's 38.7. Also, Ted is leading with a 78.7 PFF grade for 72.7 for Egbuka. So at this point, I think Ted is getting my vote for offensive rookie of the year. But, I think it's a really close race that we're going to have to keep on monitoring. So I'm going to hand it back to you. What's next on your side?
First off, the correct answer was Tyler Warren, but sure, I'll let that go. Let's see what else I got.
You're probably right.
For the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to now go to the defensive backfield. I'm calling this award the Vault, okay, for a lockdown defensive back. And the winner is probably someone not on a lot of people's radar to start the year. Jamel Dean. Okay, Jamel Dean is the highest graded coverage corner in the league of all corners with at least 200 plus coverage snaps at 83.2. In 8 games, he's given up 16 total receptions on 35 targets for just a completion percentage of 45.7, which is third lowest in the NFL among all corners behind Sauce Gardner and Quinyon Mitchell. So that's obviously great company. He has 3 interceptions. And again, this is just this is a name that hasn't been, just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like Sauce. Yeah, of course you could. Quinyon Mitchell gets a lot of hype and he's performed admirably as well. But Jamel Dean pretty much came out of nowhere. He's a name that's been kind of up there here and there, maybe on the back end of your cornerback rotations up until this season. But he's been lights out throughout, and he's kind of continued that play into November, whereas a couple of those other names had a slight dip perhaps over the last couple of weeks. Jamel Dean has kept it up. So he's, again, giving up a low completion percentage, still making plays with 3 interceptions as well. So I'm going to give the nod to Jamel Dean, but you know me, I think this goes for both of us. I love our corners, so I'm going to throw a second name into the mix here as a just missed player. And it's DJ Turner for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, how the hell is a defender from the Cincinnati Bengals actually on one of these lists? But I think we mentioned this maybe very early on in our All-22 days, before Trayvon Diggs' like banner season where he had all the interceptions, before like Deron Bland completely one-upped him like a year later. I mentioned that cornerbacks around the football, based on their total pass deflections and interceptions, can be an indicator that they're close to breaking out and making plays in the defensive backfield. So putting that aside, let's just store that away for about 10 seconds. Currently, DJ Turner is the second highest graded coverage corner right now and has only committed 1 penalty in 340 total coverage snaps. And remember, he's on the Bengals, okay? So it's not as if like things are easy for him and he's just has like this ferocious pass rush in front of him that just makes life a piece of cake. He leads the league in forced incompletion rate per target at 32%. So nearly a third of passes anywhere near him, he actually forces it incomplete. Not off target, not a catch. No, he himself forces the incompletion. He leads all corners with 10 pass breakups and also has 2 interceptions. So this guy is around the ball and making plays. That Bengals defense is an absolute mess. Imagine if he was on the Packers or the Eagles or just even a baseline competent NFL defense, what he could be doing in coverage. And he's in his 3rd year now. He's an ascending player that you should have in all 22. He's available in about 31% of leagues as of this morning. We'll see what happens after this latest waiver wire here. But yeah, this is a name you have to keep in mind. Might be available in your league. If so, you should definitely snatch him up. He just missed, but I had to throw his name out there because again, this is a defensive back on the Bengals making plays and still putting his name up there. So shout out to you, DJ Turner.
Great answers. Jamel Dean, doing a lot for that team and keeping them competitive. DJ Turner, you're right. Like, it's kind of surprising that a team didn't go and make the Bengals an offer for him because it seems like perfect situation for, a team like the Packers who need cornerback help to go and make a move. I'm going to switch to the offensive side of the ball, back to the offensive line, and we're going to go Bulldozer of the Year, right? And you came up with this topic. I love it. But I have a really surprising answer because when you're thinking about a Bulldozer of the Year, you're likely thinking of an interior offensive lineman, maybe a center, right? But there's been no better run blocker this year than Penei Sewell. So Penei Sewell this year, 96.1 offensive grade, 37 all 22 points, but a 98.0 run blocking grade, which is first in the NFL. The next highest grade for run blocking is Quentin Nelson with a 90.4. That means he has 7.6 points above the next best, which is Quentin Nelson. 77 pass blocking grade, which is still respectable, but again, maybe there's a little bit of a deficiency there where I couldn't give him the other award that typically would be given to tackles. but 0 sacks allowed, 2 total quarterback hits, and a 98.5 efficiency rating. It's been an excellent year for Penei Sewell. And we're going to say it every year. Like, this is a cornerstone player that I think any team in the NFL would take in a heartbeat. And if you have him in all 22, you're definitely not trading him away.
Yeah, also 0 penalties on run blocking plays this year. 0. So, just an absolutely phenomenal year for Penei Sewell. And you mentioned the next closest run blocker there is Quentin Nelson. Just take a look at how those 2 running backs are doing, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, the proof is in the pudding there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what's next for you?
So let's stick with the. Do you have a? You said you have another offensive line award. Do you want to just stick there?
I'm happy to. I have a Protector of the Year award, right? Because we had the Bulldozer of the Year award. Again, I thought probably I would end up with an interior offensive lineman. I didn't. Protector of the Year award. I would typically end with a tackle. I didn't. My Protector of the Year award is Creed Humphrey. So this year, Creed Humphrey has an 89.4 offensive grade, 18.4 all 22 points, 88.6 run blocking grade, but an 83.6 pass blocking grade and 0 sacks allowed. But the thing that really jumped out to me, 99.6 efficiency rating this year in the NFL is first in the NFL. So you're talking about, again, another elite player, a player that year over year we're talking about as a guy that deserves an award. But he really stands out to me here, being that 0 sacks allowed, very high pass blocking grade, above somebody like Penei Sewell, and the most efficient offensive lineman in the NFL today.
That's a really good one. So I have another good name that I'm just going to throw out there because we love our big guys. For Protector of the Year, also Joe Thuney. Okay, so you thought he was done, Chris. I don't know if you actually did, but he's going to be 33 years old next week, right? So a lot of people kind of put him on the back burner.
I probably said, go get him, dude. I probably said, hey, go get him. If you're trying to win, go get him.
I hate calling dudes old that I'm older than, but in any event. So yeah, 4th highest graded pass blocker among all offensive linemen. So it's not the first, but he is the highest rated pass blocking guard. Another one with 0 penalties and 340 pass protection snaps. Only gave up 6 hurries and 1 quarterback hit so far in 9 games. He has the highest pass blocking efficiency rate among all guards in the NFL and 9th among all linemen in the NFL. And the Bears have had just a mess at left tackle this season overall. That's kind of been a revolving door there. Braxton Jones not playing this past week either. So Thuney just at left guard has kind of kept things together on that side of the ball. And I think he's a big reason why you see kind of slowly but surely Caleb Williams is starting to come into his own. He still makes a few of those, kind of risky plays and whatnot, but he's been making plays the last few weeks. And I think a big part of that is Joe Thuney really sort of solidifying that left side of the line, even with everything going on the edge at tackle there. And it's been a big help to Caleb Williams. So I just want to shout him out as well, even if he's not the Protector of the Year, because everyone knows we do love Creed Humphrey over here, but let's throw some love to Joe Thuney also.
No, I love that. And it's funny, another interior offensive lineman. So that's super cool. Defense, or do you want me to go like I have a running back I can do? Up to you.
So I have one defensive player left, and it's not a defensive specific award. So
all right. So then let me go running back real quick. Yeah, let me go running back. So let's call this Bellcow of the Year. Bellcow of the Year is going to go to Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor, again, this is obvious stuff. This is not groundbreaking, but already 1,139 yards on the season rushing, 15 rushing touchdowns with just 1 fumble. He's leading the NFL in rushing grade with a 90.1, which is 3 points higher than the next best James Cook. Offensive grade of 84.6 and a fumble grade of an 80.6. So again, from a running standpoint, all elite grades. Yards after contact, though, has been absolutely elite, 844 yards. Again, there isn't a running back in the NFL besides him and James Cook with over 800 rushing yards, and he has 844 after contact. So you're talking about a guy that, again, has just been doing everything for his team, making people miss tackles, getting yards after contact, and just being the true bell cow. I think Jonathan Taylor will always have a little bit of a knack as not being a great receiving option, which other guys like a Devin A-Chain, James Cook, Bijan all have a little bit more to it than Jonathan Taylor does. Just a 57.1 grade there. But if we're talking about bell cow running back, I'm going Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, no argument. You can't argue with that. Jonathan Taylor is just phenomenal. I could sit here and say, yeah, well, Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome too. Yeah, it's Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, hands down. So, yeah. And
All right.
just shout out again to Quentin Nelson right in front of him.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so all I have left is my MVP. Is that what you have?
Let's talk comeback player of the year.
Okay.
It should be obvious. I think it is obvious. And he really should be in contention for the MVP. But through no fault of his own, he really isn't. But it's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is the comeback player of the year. He's the third highest graded quarterback in the entire league. He's got 18 big time throws, which is fourth among all quarterbacks, with just 7 turnover worthy plays, which is the 5th fewest. So again, he's one of the best at making big time plays and one of the best at preventing big time turnover worthy plays. 79.3% adjusted completion percentage. And again, CeeDee Lamb missed nearly a month with an ankle injury. 4 of his starting 5 offensive linemen have missed time with injuries. His defense is horrendous. If it wasn't for the Bengals being even worse, we would be talking about how this Cowboys defense is some of the worst we've seen in years. So he's never had game script in his favor whatsoever, and he's still producing at an elite level. If he had a league average defense, they would have won more games and he would be in the overall MVP conversation for the NFL today. But because, again, their defense is really, really, really bad, just not Bengals level bad, but I don't think it's really that far off. He's just kind of been forgotten about when really he's just produced at an elite level the entire season with, again, no sort of easy button to turn to. He hasn't had comfortable 2 touchdown leads where for 2.5 quarters, he just has to worry about not putting the ball in harm's way. This guy's playing catch up. If the Cowboys don't score on 2 possessions on offense, they're playing catch up the entire game and probably are going to lose no matter what he does. So he really needs to go out and pretty much score a touchdown on every single drive or else he's in trouble. So despite all of those stressors and dealing with injuries around him, he's produced at a top 3 at worst level in the league this year. So he should be up there in the MVP conversation, but he's also coming back from that hamstring injury that cost him the majority of the season last year. So to see him come back and play at this elite level, he's the obvious choice for comeback player of the year, Dak Prescott.
I think he's the right choice. I think there's going to be people at home saying, what about Daniel Jones, right? And I think depends on how you define comeback player, right? Is it the guy that got injured? Like Dak, is good, right? Like Dak has been good before. He's going to be good. But there was a bad injury in there, right? And this is his comeback. Daniel Jones was basically like a forgotten player, discarded by his previous team, and is now kind of finding his footing to becoming like a very high-end player in the NFL. So I think there is an argument that maybe we should consider Daniel Jones, again, leading his team to an 8-2 record, almost 2,700 passing yards already, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But the reason I agree with you that it's Dak is because when you really do dig into the analytics, 69.1 passing grade for Daniel Jones versus Dak's 86.4. Daniel Jones has 9 big-time throws and 16 turnover-worthy plays. So when you really go into it again, it's like how much of the success of Daniel Jones is credited to Daniel Jones and how much of it is coach, play calling, and the team around him. Again, like how many people before this year were saying, Josh Downs was going to be the next breakout receiver, right? But Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman have been great in their own respects. And then you have Jonathan Taylor just absolutely feasting week after week and really making games easy for your quarterback when you're able to do that. So I agree with you. I think Dak is in a more difficult position. I think what he's doing is more special because he has been playing at such a high level. But maybe there does need to be another award for like thrift shop player of the year or something, right? Like who went to the garbage dump, picked up something and turned it into a piece of gold, right? I think Daniel Jones should definitely get that award.
Yeah, he was under consideration too. I was very close, but I think his last 2 games in particular are some of the lowest graded of his season thus far. I think he kind of slipped the last couple of weeks, starting with that Steelers game.
Ray. When you were doing your victory lap, I said, let's see how the season progresses.
No.
Right?
I took the victory lap because if you remember, the statement was Daniel Jones, at the very least, is going to have a stretch where he could win you where he can save your season. I didn't say when the stretch was. So no matter what he does from here on out, if that stretch was week 1 through 8, that's a phenomenal stretch. I'm still correct.
All right.
The other quarterback under consideration still was Sam Darnold, because 3 years isn't enough time away from what the Carolina Panthers were, and 5 years may not even be enough time away from what the Jets were. So he might still qualify for being away and returning from those dumpster fires, no matter what he did in 2020.
Thrift store player of the year.
Straight comeback. He still came back from the Jets and Panthers. Still,
he was good last year. You're tripping. All right. Anyway, let's get into the MVP debate. I think I want you to go first because it sounds like maybe you have a different mindset than I do.
Yeah, I didn't want to give it to a quarterback, and like I know that the most valuable position and the best one usually wins it, and of course, quantifiably they have the best impact on the greatest impact on your team. Yeah, I get all of that. Fine, cool. Myles Garrett is playing out of his mind. Okay, he's the highest graded defender in the entire league, 91.8. Micah Parsons actually right behind him at 91.6, but he's the second highest graded run defending edge player, also just behind Greg Rousseau. Third, so he's the second highest graded run defender and the third highest graded pass rusher behind Micah and Aiden Hutchinson. He has 5 weekly grades above 85. That's 5 week winners. That's like half the season already. We're just past week 10. Half the season he's had week winning performances for you. And he just had his worst game of the year this past weekend. I put air quotes around worst at 64.7. And again, you look at the style of that matchup there in New York against Justin Fields. First off, the Jets scoring 2 sort of special teams touchdowns there. That whole game was just kind of off script and out of whack. And that's his worst game, which is just a baseline sort of serve holding performance, while he obviously has the lion's share of attention from the opposing offense. So pretty much at least half the time, Myles Garrett by himself is putting the team on his back and winning you your weeks. And he's doing it in every facet, against the run, against the pass, on a hopeless roster that's going nowhere. And he just goes out there and just does what he does. I have to give it to Myles Garrett. He deserves it. He's in a place that's been stuck in the mud forever. He's basically the defensive Joe Thomas, and he deserves to these accolades. He absolutely deserves it. There is no one more deserving. Just because you have the ball in your hands every play doesn't mean I'm going to give you the award over Myles Garrett by default.
So if you were arguing for defensive player of the year, which is a category you should have done, I would agree with you that Myles Garrett deserves to be defensive player of the year. But if we were going to do a non-quarterback for MVP, I think it's Penei Sewell. Again, you're talking about a player that has the highest PFF grade amongst any player in the NFL today, 96.1. Nobody's been better. He's been, again, like a groundbreaking cornerstone player for the team. Every single week, he's doing fantastic things. I don't know how you give it to Garrett over him, but Myles Garrett is an incredible player. So, like, I'm not going to knock you, but let's just say that's defensive player of the year, because I'm going to do an offensive player of the year before I go into MVP, because nobody wins MVP but quarterbacks. And I think if we were going to do an offensive player of the year, there's an argument that Jaxson Smith-Njigba should get that award. 49.2 all 22 points, 93.3 offensive grade, 93.5 receiving grade. He already has 1,041 yards, which is the most in the NFL by over 210 yards. I think the reason why I kind of like hesitate to mention him in some conversations is because I think Puka has arguably been better. He just has missed time. So if again, the weeks that Puka has played, I think he's arguably been better than Smith-Njigba. So it gets a little tricky there. But again, if you were doing an offensive player of the year award, which the NFL does, I think to this point in the season, Jaxson Smith-Njigba wins that award. But if I'm going to the MVP award, Ray, I agree with you. I didn't want to give it to a quarterback, so instead I gave it to 4 quarterbacks. I'm going to choose one. I'm going to choose one, but I think you have to mention 4 guys, because right now I think this is a 4-man race. It's Justin Herbert, it's Drake May, it's Sam Darnold, and it's Matthew Stafford that are all today competing for that award. Okay, so Justin Herbert, I'm just going to make his case right now, hasn't had his bye week, so some of his numbers are a little inflated, right? Because he is right now the highest scoring player in the All-22 platform with 76.6 season points. Okay, so again, we're talking about the highest scoring player in All-22 is Justin Herbert because he hasn't had his bye week. But his team, second in the division, 7-3, so he's helping his team get to a winning place. He's lost both of his offensive tackles this season to season-ending injuries, and also I think his playmakers are a bit shady, right? Like, his running back got hurt for the year. Keenan Allen, who was discarded by the Bears, they brought him back in, and suddenly he's great again. Quentin Johnston has looked tremendous, but again, you're talking about somebody that's kind of been taken from the ashes and reborn here, and I think a lot of that is due to what Justin Herbert has done and what he's been able to do. Lad McConkey, obviously, we really like him, but he's not having the same year he had last year either. The O-line has the third lowest pass blocking grade in the NFL with a 48.9, and the receiving grade for the team is 11th with a 75.2. So you're not talking about a guy that's in an offense with just weapons and protection where he can sit back and do anything he needs to do. 76.6 season points, I had mentioned. 87.4 offensive grade is good for fourth among quarterbacks, and an 80.7 passing grade is sixth among quarterbacks with 11 big-time throws, 7 turnover-worthy plays. So again, the analytics, a little bit underwhelming if you're talking about the number one quarterback. But if you think about what that offensive line has been and the playmakers around him, what he is doing is special. Then it takes me to Drake May, who also hasn't had his bye week yet. So he's going to end up being second in all 22 points with 76.1. So he's second in the whole system again in all 22 points. And we're talking about a second-year player. His team is tied for first in the AFC with an 8-2 record. And again, I think he's done it with some suspect group of playmakers and a shady offensive line. And that was kind of our take preseason. Coming back today and looking at it, the team is performing really well. And that, we could talk about the coaching thing again, like with the Brian Daboll stuff, but you insert Mike Vrabel and all of a sudden this suspect group has an 83.0 receiving grade and a 67.4 pass blocking grade, which are both very good, right? Respectable numbers. But Drake May himself, 83.6 offensive grade is sixth in the NFL, 17 big time throws, 10 turnover worthy plays. Just got to kind of give him some flowers for what he's done. Let's go to Sam Darnold, okay? Because this is where it gets really interesting. So team is 7-2, tied for the first in the NFC. Highest PFF season grade on the season among quarterbacks. Has the least turnover-worthy plays amongst quarterbacks with at least 15 big-time throws. Good group of playmakers, right? His receivers have the highest PFF grade collectively with a 90.5 and average blocking 16th best in the NFL with a 62.1. And again, Sam Darnold himself, 93.1 offensive grade, highest amongst quarterbacks in the NFL, 22 big-time throws, which I believe is good for second, and 6 turnover-worthy plays, which is the lowest amongst quarterbacks with at least 15 big-time throws. Big argument to make for Sam Darnold, right? But then we go to who I think probably right now is the front runner for MVP, which is Matthew Stafford, okay? Team is also 7-2, tied for first in the NFC. He has the highest passing grade and the most big-time throws amongst quarterbacks in the NFL. He has maybe the best receiving core in the NFL, right? So maybe you take away a little bit of his props with Puka and Adams and what they're doing. 86.5 collective receiving grade there, second in the NFL, but a poor pass blocking grade, sixth worst pass blocking group in the NFL with a 55.2. And you're talking about, again, first in passing grade with this 92.4. Second in offensive grade right behind Darnold with a 92.5, 23 big-time throws, 6 turnover-worthy plays. Right now, if I had to name one MVP, it's probably Matthew Stafford.
So you named 4 guys just to say Matthew Stafford.
You would have been mad at me if I sat here and didn't say Sam Darnold's name, didn't say Drake May, and I'm going to say if I'm saying those two, I'm saying Justin Herbert too.
I mean, I said Sam Darnold's name. We met our quota. I said his name a few minutes ago. So it's
but you did it for comeback player of the year, which made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, he's still coming back from the Jets and the Panthers. He's still coming back. It's a long road. Matthew Stafford is playing out of his mind.
Coming back from it too, I think.
Yeah. Geno Smith, he's on the struggle bus trying to get there. I know what it feels like. I don't know what it feels like, but Darnold knows what it feels like. So I do feel for Geno Smith, but luckily he has the Cowboys defense, I think, next week. So he'll be fine. I agree. Matthew Stafford is playing absolutely out of his mind, but it's still Myles Garrett. Well, yeah, it's still Myles Garrett. I'm not handing out a participation trophy. I
want the people to let us know in the comments what they think. Should it be Myles Garrett? Should it be Penny Sewell? Should it be one of these quarterbacks? I want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments. Ray, did you have any other awards that you wanted to call out here?
Those are all my awards. Yeah, I got them all. I would be okay with Penei Sewell sort of double fisting the trophies on the way back from this award show. That's cool too. But if not, it's Myles Garrett. Like, that guy deserves this. Okay. That guy deserves this.
I love it. All right, everybody, thank you again for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day.